Hey, what's up, guys? It is Rapmark here. So, doing my review for episode 6 of She-Hulk. So, this is a little late coming out. I did explain in my vlog that this would probably be the only thing I did, and yeah, I had no time last week. I was going to a convention that went from Thursday to Saturday, and then I had to work, and so now I'm hitting this app. But I have hit this on Sunday before Monday hit, so technically we are still within the week. Um, though I will be recording and doing my vlog like right after this, because I kind of have to. But anyway, we'll get onto that in the vlog. Let's go on with episode 6. So, how do I feel this episode went? Well, I think this is the show essentially. It once again is feeding the trolls. It is actively feeding the trolls. It attacks men. It attacks. It kind of attacks women a little bit, but like, here's my main problem: is it turns every character that's not it's not Jennifer or her friend. God, what is her friend's name? Uh, Nikki. Yeah, if it's not Nikki or Jennifer, then you're either just a terrible person or you're just essentially a joke, and it's really unfortunate. Like, from what I've looked into in the show, you know, they want it to be sort of like a sitcom, and with things like that, it's almost like, I think of things like Always Sunny in Philadelphia. I think of Seinfeld, Friends, where you have you have like where it's pretty much all just these terrible people. Like, I mean, Friends has some, like, Phoebe's pretty good, Joey's pretty good, but I mean, everyone else in those shows is like just total sociopathic or total sociopaths. And I feel that's what it's trying to go for, be funny, you know, while being hanging on for the ride with the chaos. The problem is the writing is just not up there. It is not hitting the right chords for me. It doesn't feel like anything has any sort of nuance or subtlety. Everything is just so, oh, like, overboard, and just it's like there is absolutely no subtlety. It is so, like, out there that it's it's almost insulting. Like it's treating its audience like they're dumb. Like I said, and there were a lot of good concepts here. Like, again, I enjoyed Mr. Immortal being brought up. They turned him into a complete and total, just a horrible person. He was a complete and total ass who, faked his death to get out of several marriages. Like, I know he's not the biggest. Like, he is a side character within Marvel Comics, but man, they just turn him into a complete just piece of shit, and I'm just like, what? Why? Like, come on. And then the whole, like, court scene with or not court scene, like, there was no court scene, but the whole, like, lawyering thing with Book, and yeah, Mallory Book, and what is her name again? Nikki. Is it's just like what are you doing? Like he's telling him about this and like yeah, he's a total scumbag, whatever. But they are like going off on him. It is the worst like luring ever. Like do not take this case because you clearly hate this guy. I mean, is he hateable? Yes. Is he a total piece of crap? Yes. Should he get his comeuppance? Sure, why not? But for goodness sake, you're supposed to be his lawyers, and they're just ripping into him to the point where he just jumps out of the window. And that was probably one of the few times I actually laughed. Like these past 2 or 3 episodes, I have just gone through and I'm just like watching, and I can see things that are funny. And as I'm talking, in these reviews back at them, the, the ideas themselves are highly comical. But I just don't think the writing team just has it in them to make it as funny as they think it's going for. I mean, either that or else it's just not for me. Because, man, its humor is just not hitting at all. And, I've watched, Seinfeld. I've watched Friends. I've watched a few episodes of Always Sunny in Philadelphia. Like, I, I think those shows are great. This show ain't them. I'm sorry. This show has been found wanting by me. So I just don't think it's hitting the notes it wants to. And then of course you have the other plot where she is invited to be a bridesmaid at an old friend's wedding who she hasn't seen in years, and why she was asked into be, and I don't even know. It's ridiculous. And her friend's just a total piece of work. All her servants quit, so she essentially is tasked out to do all these things. Everyone has a guy they're going with, matched up, and she is going with man, I don't even remember his name, but when he shows up, he ends up to be like the cutest derpy dog. Ah, any dog with its tongue hanging out like that is like just so derpy. Apparently, was dead that morning, and I'm just like, God, where are we going with this? This is nuts. But yeah, anyway, so uh, then she meets this guy. Uh, I believe his name is Josh. Good grief. So, and they talk. They start hitting each other up, and they hit off pretty well. But the thing is once again, it's just like I'm gonna shit on myself, and metaphorically speaking, and she finds that very endearing, and then he's highly complimentary. Like, I mean, I guess he's not, but I don't know. It just seems too weird. Like, is he associated with the wrecking crew? Uh, is he a villain of some kind? I honestly don't know. He's either going to be the My guess is he's either going to be the big bad, or he's going to be, at least identified with he was one of the wrecking crew. I'm not going to go back to episode 3 to check that out. It ain't worth it. Uh, and yeah, I'm just like, oh my gosh, like the pacing and just the things that happen like without reason. I mean, there's a point in time where Nikki has essentially solved, decades worth of Mr. Immortal's lying and emotional trauma that he's given to these people, and just sorts it out in a few hours, and they're all happy. And the worst thing for him is he has to stare at one of their eyes for like 18 seconds or something like that. And it's like, I don't know. I mean, I was expecting something like these episodes. And the thing is, I think if it was a little bit longer, like these episodes again are so short. Like, if they could do little longer episodes, and oh my gosh, yeah, Tatiana is actually in this one because obviously just to be a pain in the butt, she's dating one of the groomsmen. So yeah, they fight, and then it goes, but it doesn't feel like there's any sort of tension. Well, no, not tension, but no significance behind it. It's like skin deep. It's like literally eating candy. It tastes good, but it doesn't really serve any major purpose to the show or to the character. Uh, and I just feel like this is just a really dumbed down version of what they were expecting it to be. Because again, I think there's a lot of great things here. There is a lot of good ideas here that what I'm talking about, and you've seen this, that where I laugh because it's funny. On paper, it is hilarious, but when I'm watching it, it's not funny. It's it's just kind of meh. Like, I don't think this is the worst. Again, I don't think this is the worst show I've ever seen. Uh, but I don't think it's a good show either. I think it's just sort of meh, you know. So what would I give this? This episode, I'm I gotta give it a 4. Like, again, we're doing the same shit that we're doing in every other episode, and I mean, if this whole sitcom thing is what they're going for, then I'm kind of worried as to what is the point of this series. Like, for goodness sake, I get it's supposed to be lighthearted, but man, you are taking some really weird creative choices when it comes to like feeding the trolls and just your sense of humor and turning cameos into, again, either just or any character who's not in our immediate friend group into freaking jokes or just terrible people. Like, I just I'm really hoping they don't screw up Daredevil for me. That's the one thing. This series can skate by on like a 4 or 5, which is probably where I'm going to give it. But yeah, I mean, we'll still obviously do the end of series review, but I just really hope they don't screw over Daredevil, cause that will piss me off because they are doing terrible things to the characters in this show. And even Wong, I feel they did a massive disservice. Even though I personally did like the whole Madison thing, but it was funny. I enjoyed her. But honestly, like the whole thing, it was just so contrived and so just stupid. So, yeah, four out of five. Like, this is not where I was expecting it to be at episode 6, but now I do have a baseline for what this show is going to be. Uh, I'm not impressed. That being said, though, I don't hate it. It's there, and I just don't think it's for me. Uh, but yeah, we'll see what happens. So let's go into a breakdown real quick. So we start off with Walter's invited to be a bridesmaid, at her friend Lulu's wedding. And of course, the fourth wall breaking of just like inconvenient wedding episodes. And it's like, okay. I mean, good grief. It literally is like pre feeding the trolls. It's like they had these golden nuggets because they knew that they were going to piss off these people. And I wouldn't mind it if it was actually funny, if there was actually writing that carried it up, but it just isn't there, and it's cringy, and it's making me like, it's grating to me at this point. We're in episode 6, and I'm already like, the humor, which I was kind of like, I'm now just like, cringing. So anyway, she gets there, and Lulu wants to come as herself, not as She-Hulk, because she comes as She-Hulk. And just like, why did you invite that She-Hulk? It's just like, oh my gosh. This blows my mind. Just, yeah, this is a long denigration to just how horrible Lulu really is. Anyway, students quit, so she has to do all this stuff, wash certain things, set up glasses, stuff like that. And so what does she do? She gets drunk, of course. It's a paid bar. It's not a it's not a free bar. So man, she has a lot of cash to buy those drinks. I'll say that, but man, she gets wasted. Oh, but yeah, I forgot. First, she does run into Ta- Titania because she's dating one of the groomsmen, of course. Um, and it doesn't go into a fight then, but she's just like, not every, like, she looks really bad. All the people at the wedding are like against Jennifer, and Titania is just like, it's not always about you, Jennifer. It's just like, good God. Like, I get that their whole relationship is like petty and stuff like that. The the problem is it just doesn't feel like it has any weight behind it. There's no guts to it. It's just surface level shit like this. And again, if they had given more time to it, or had better writers, it probably would have come through more. Because again, it sounds funny, it sounds amusing, it sounds entertaining, but watching it on screen, I'm just like, this just doesn't feel impactful to me, and it's unfortunate because that's a big part of like She-Hulk and Titania's like their whole dynamic. So anyway, she bonds with Josh, who shits on himself, as I said. He's a friend of the groom, but doesn't really explain why. It's kind of vague, and that's why I'm kind of just like, all right, he's either associated with the big baddie or he is the big baddie, because this is way too convenient. Good things can't happen to Jennifer. It's just, yeah, it just comes off as way too convenient. See it coming a mile away. When is it going to come to a head? I don't know. Like, we have 3 episodes left, and I'm just like, I don't know where this is headed, because this is not following traditional arcs, and it is following a sitcom sort of stuff, but standalone episodes with, I guess, kind of an arc, but there's not really any arcage. It's just like time goes. Again, it's like sitcom, but all the sitcoms I can compare it to are way better than this. This is not a good sitcom. It's just sort of a, yeah. So, all right. Anyway, they go to kiss. She feels sick. She goes to puke, and Titania attacks her, just whacks her in the face. Doesn't change. She tries to change, but she's so drunk that it's just like, I can't, I can't do it. And then she finally gets it, and then they attack each other, and then right in the middle, Titania slips on some ice and breaks her veneers, and everyone's recording on her phone. And it's just like, I don't know. She's just shitting on all of them. It's just like, it's just like, you think you're so important with your 11 followers. Ah. it it was supposed to be funny, and I think about it now, and it is funny, like, to think about, and probably on paper, but watching it, I don't feel anything anymore. Like, it's just like, I feel they're trying to be funny, but it's not funny. I talk about it later, and I'm giggling, as you can see, but it's just not funny. So anyway, we go into the book and Ramos and their divorce case for Mr. Immortal, who again, they immediately, like, he's just a piece of shit, and they talk shit to him, and then he jumps out a window, and that was amusing. That actually got a chuckle for me. I'll admit that, full heartedly. Uh, but then they take the case. Like, why are you taking the case? This is insane. This is insane. They are entirely breaking everything. Like, the action is superficial and not very impactful. The courtroom stuff is highly superficial, really dumb, and contradictory in a lot of ways as to pertaining to anything with law. It's just like, why? So anyway, all 8 of his spouses. There's like one or two men in there as well as a bunch of females. This is all over decades. I think I don't know how long, but yeah, decades. And they learned his secret because his powers were leaked by a website called Intelligentsia, which is, I mean, it does exist. I know I've heard it somewhere in the comics before. Uh, I need to look into it a little more to know more. Anyway, but yeah, somehow after all this fighting, they want him to get his, which is just not what your lawyer is supposed to be about. They still take the case, which is not what your lawyer would advise you to do. I don't think he would go with these lawyers, considering how much they freaking ripped into him when he was talking to them initially. But yeah, Nikki somehow resolves every case, all eight cases in just a few hours, and everyone's happy. And I'm not sure anyone got much. Like, there was one where it's just like, just look into my eyes for like 18 minutes or 18 seconds, and he's just like freaking out. I don't know if she actually got any money. Like, what? It's, yeah, it was bad. It was dumb. So anyway, they sort that out, and then they go on to Intelligentsia's message board, where they find like a whole bunch of She-Hulk threats and a whole lot of, from the memes. The memes because they're there now. And man, again, why endlessly feeding the trolls? It doesn't add anything to the show. And at this point, it's kind of grating, because again, you're going to include her into the wider MCU. There's a point in time where you have to kind of take her seriously as a character. And it's just, I don't know. Yeah. So yeah, Book doesn't want to tell her, but Nikki tells her, leaves a message, I guess, and then that's where we pull away. I mean, the wedding was just super weird. Oh, finish off the wedding. Uh, After the fight, she's She-Hulk, of course, and then Lulu comes in. She's like, "I'm so sorry. I know I promised." But Lulu's drunk. She's drunk as a skunk. She doesn't care. It's great. Everyone has a good old time. And in the credit scene, she's showed to made up with making out with the DJ, because you never see the groom at any point. It's super weird. But yeah, that was that. So yeah, 4 out of 10 for this one. This is the show is not going, I would say, in a good direction for me at least. I don't think it's the worst thing ever, but again, I at very best it's just not chalked up for me, and at very worst it's going way too gratingly into like feeding the trolls and messaging, but with poor writing that's not making it funny. So that's my thing with it so far. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed my review. I will see you in a little bit. So until then, I'll catch you next time. See ya.